Hi everyone, I'm the Clone, and in this video I will show you how to play Shaco perfectly and probably still lose. On a more serious note, I will explain how the new items change Shaco and what the best builds / items are, what the greatest and fastest strategy to win is, and give you some 1 million IQ tips you won't hear anywhere else. First, I always take the topside buff. This allows me to follow with an instant invade at level 2. If you watched my 15 minutes of Shaco First Bloods video, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. The reason why I invade is because I learned to play this specific early game strategy really well, and by doing it every game it boosts my win rate tremendously. Also, Shaco is at his strongest early, where items cannot counter you yet. The invade works because the enemy jungler always starts on the bot side for better leash. Since Shaco doesn't need that, you take your buff, then the enemy's buff and frog. The reverse goes for the other side of the map, where you take your own frog before the invade. By the time they get to wolves, you're already level 3. Place a box inside the bush and wait. 90% of times they'll path inside it, resulting in an easy first blood. You can also just jump on them, steal the wolves and first blood when you feel it will work. The same applies for the other side. First blood. By the way, if you want to support my content and see more videos like this one, don't forget to drop a like and sub to the channel. Afterward, make sure you secure the scalar as it gives a ton of XP and gold. Also, it can result in a fight with the enemy jungler, which I usually recommend you take as, again, Shaco is strong early, especially if you still have Ignite up. Always focus on the bot side, because a successful gank will affect 2 enemies instead of just 1. Thus, whomever wins bot has a greater influence over the game in general compared to mid and top. For items, I always go Berserkers into Dirk. Berserkers first because the movement speed is really important for Shaco and DPS results in a faster jungler clear. Also, early game DPS is better at 1v1s for a champion like Shaco, whose main damage comes from basic attacks. For instance, on Kha'Zix you would take Dirk before completing boots. Why? Because Kha'Zix uses abilities. Dirk's AD and lethality works better than DPS here. Great gank here. Always close the gap between you and an enemy before using Q, as this gives you more flexibility. Also get as close as possible to them before attacking. This will help you stick onto them easier with your next attacks. Furthermore, don't use box just for the fear, but for zoning. Block retreating paths. Force enemies walk in unfavorable directions. Perfect example here on how Berserkers enable you to 1v1 early game. Had I built Dirk first, I would have missed the mobility and DPS to stick onto Kate and do the damage to begin with. It's not just about how much damage you can deal, but whether or not you have the tools available to enable you to deal the damage in the first place. When taking Cloud Dragon and you're low HP, never panic. This dragon deals damage from HP percentage, meaning that the lower you are, the lower its damage will be. Simple target prioritization. Focus whomever can either more easily get away or whomever can hard CC you, thus denying you the ability to follow. Keeping distance here until my cooldowns reset while cutting the Rengar's escape path. 1 million IQ tip here. Enemies never pay attention when jumped on from an unexpected position. AKA jumping on them as they come to lane is basically a game ending move, as if they die that way, usually they just quit. 500? Oh my god, that's OP. Now it's not really, unfortunately. Movement speed is a very underrated stat. While true, trading all your damage and sustain for it is simply not worth it. Also, playing more conservatively with proper positioning will result in you not needing that much movement speed to catch enemies anyways. Pause right there. Look at how fat in the head I was. 3 basic attacks with Hail of Blades and E with Execute. Imagine any other assassin in the game being this fat and doing that little damage. Before the patch with Claw, this would have been literally 2 attacks and 1 E.
My main goal is to blow up. My main goal.
Make sure to Q from Fog of War. Isolating / catching carries on their own is always the best and easiest way to get a takedown.
I have no damage, man. What is this champion?
Finding yourself in situations where you get perma-CC'd results in you usually getting caught by another enemy. That is why it is imperative for you to one-shot your target before they can blast their whole CC load on you. Again, here with Rengar, try to predict your enemy's path and cut their way. Here I bought Statikk Shiv to try it. Also, Statikk got recently buffed. Yet, my conclusion of the item is the same. Do not buy Statikk Shiv. It is complete trash. It only works for wave clearing and gives you basically zero damage against champions. Here is a perfect example of what I was saying earlier about positioning with Q before attacking an enemy from behind. You want to get as close as possible because when you attack, you have to stand still. And if the enemy moves in the opposite direction, they will deny further attacks. Here I was forced to back away as I was predicting the Lulu ult, which would have knocked me up, and remember, it is imperative for you to one-shot the target before they unload their CC on you. Pause right there. Rewind. Being this fed with Claw, Essence, Collector and Infinity Edge, Kog'Maw would have been one-shotted literally. Riot Games, by making Infinity a mythic, they denied us the ability to build both an Assassin mythic for utility and Infinity for damage. Meaning that by limiting our item choices to either lethality or crit, not both, the damage decreased by a huge amount. Shaco was never a strong champion because of the insane damage his abilities dealt. It was always the items. That's why by going for the strongest, most expensive ones, you were able to actually one-shot and carry games.
Look at that, bro. Look at that. So this guy who's 0-12, he one-shots me, and I cannot do anything to fucking ADC who's level 12, and I'm level 15.
Because the way his abilities interact with the new items, he's able to one-shot me.
Oh, hell no, man.
It's not just the items being changed that screw Shaco, but the way you can't combine them anymore and the way they do not synergize with your kit. Man, back in Season 6 a build example would be Trinity Force with Duskblade, Infinity and Youmuu's. Isn't it funny how all those items are mythics now? Shaco is D tier at the moment, with most people building Youmuu's into Bork. Youmuu's has already been nerfed because it is an OP item on other champions while garbage on Shaco, thus making him even worse. Moreover, Bork is an item that you are forced to build every single game because of how you no longer have any real sustain from the jungle item. No real utility if you avoid an assassin mythic, all while everyone is so fucking tanky now with the infinite sustain because of the durability patch. But we'll get to that later when I change the build to prove my point. Bruh, Riot just completely forgot about Shaco. Quick side note, Riot just nerfed Essence Reaver. This change will negatively affect Shaco's damage late game, which will likely result in an even worse win rate. Though it has been announced that in patch 13.15 a new Shaco skin will be released, part of the Soul Fighter theme, including a prestige edition of it. Given the traditional buff that accompanies such skin release and further win rate decreases because of the indirect Essence nerf, it is likely AD Shaco will receive a buff. This is just speculation, but we will find it all out around late July when the PB for patch 13.15 will be released. Pro tip: Crush Dragon with Clone late game. Usually it only takes a few seconds and the enemy team won't have time to react. Always secure objectives whenever you can, as the buffs will stack and every small advantage counts. Alright, pause right there. See that Kate? See how fat I am? Remember all the one-shots I showed you so far from older patches with Clone Duskblade? The Lux Full does not connect. 800, 600, 400. Are you kidding me? This may seem like a lot of damage, but it is 3 crits in a row, and that's because I was lucky. With 60% crit chance, I could have easily not even critted either of the second and third basic attack and just dealt 200 damage on the third one. 200 damage at full build, by the way. Again, note how this is all because of the inability to build both a lethality mythic and infinity edge at the same time. An even better example here. My guy is 5 levels behind. Also, funny, I just noticed she almost has the same HP as me, Youmuu. That's also a thing. Back when the durability patch rolled out, Shaco was so bad, Riot actually had to buff his damage. but for that, they also big time nerf his HP and armor. I might seem to be asking for a lot to some, but for me to one-shot a Lulu should be totally normal, as she is level 12 and I 17. From my experience, at 4 levels difference the game is already over and I was 5. I did misplay here a bit, but this further proves my point. Caitlyn doesn't even have Infinity as her mythic item. Her trap gives her some extra damage. Shaco's Q gives you some extra damage on top of the crit. Boom!
That was crazy, dude. One basic attack and I'm f***ing dead from almost full HP. And I need to attack like 3 to 5 times, and even then.
At this point, I decided to try out the new Prowler's Claw. Man, look at that Rengar. Remember him? The guy that was trolling all game and seemed to have room temperature IQ? That's him now. Good shit, Riot. My guy attacked each of my ADCs once or twice and it's over. He doesn't even have to build crit. There has to be a meta. But this is just ridiculously bad how Riot completely forgot about Shaco while Rengar, Kha'Zix and so on. They are all strong after the items changes.
Some champions are strong, some champions are weak. It just makes sense. Oh no, that was my bad. I could have killed her. Oh my god, that was actually OP. I should be able to get away from this guy here. Oh, never mind.
Had I one-shotted Lulu, I would have been easily able to get Kog'Maw and get away. There you go. Close total damage. Only 240 damage after using it twice? That means I did like 120 extra damage to Rengar and Lulu at level 18 each full build. Meanwhile, Rengar 1 basic attacks you and you're gone. Not even fed, no brain needed.
Oh, my mistake. This is the biggest issue as well, you squish as fuck. Meanwhile, Rengar, he's not that squishy. He uses 1W once, he's back to full HP. Infinity. Now that I have full build and I switch the build, notice how I'll actually be able to fucking play the game.
Pause right there. 2 basic attacks, no more needed. No more should even be needed. And imagine if I also had the old Claw here or Duskblade. With Claw it would have been just 1 basic attack. And had I had Duskblade it would have been likely a triple kill. Also, notice how 1 single tank item cancels your champion completely. You are super squishy. Thus anyone can one-shot you.
My life be like,
You have no damage, even when fed, you get destroyed by 1 CC ability and my dick is fucking huge. The best thing you can do is solo Baron with Bork as early as you can and split push, get even more ahead, and at that point you'll have the best chance to win. Fun fact, split pushing is the fastest, easiest way to get gold and XP, therefore snowball, get better items and maybe just carry. Also, focus on getting Herald early. Worst case scenario, you just use it for the plate's gold. Best scenario, you use it to dive. A great way to get a ton of gold mid to late game is to get a second tower as it gives as much gold as 2 kills, respectively 600 Gs.
Y'all see the shoes? Y'all see the money.
The absolute best build so far that I have found is as following. Berserkers into Dirk for early game power spike, then Essence Reaver into Bork, turn the Dirk into Collector. At this point, if ahead, you should be able to solo Baron and start split pushing. Now you want either Infinity or Lord Dominic's depending on whether the enemy team is full of tanks or not. This is how the power of the build should look like. Rewind. Pause. Pro tip here, focus the support because it removes the crowd control. For instance, if I were to have killed Kog'Maw first, Janna would have hard CC'd me and then gotten away. But like this, Kog'Maw is free after the CC threat is gone. Conclusion. If Shaco struggles so hard when being this fed, imagine how the situation would be if he were to lose the early game or just generally be behind. And as always, until next time, stay safe.